Surviving Reality contains explicit content full of snark and sarcasm that may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to Surviving Reality.
I'm Corey.
And I'm Carly, and we are back with the next drop of episodes of Love is Blind. This is episode 7, 8, and 9?
7, 8, 9.
Of season 8, Love is Blind, Minneapolis. And man, we have learned a lot about the city of Minneapolis and the shallow dating pool.
That small town energy that Minneapolis seems to embody so much, based on basically everyone's assessment of the dating scene, the dating pool.
I'm looking forward to talking about it in this episode because there's a lot that relates back to some of the tension and storylines that we're starting to see build here. We're finally out of the pods. They're in the past.
Thank God. Yeah. Cleared that hurdle.
And the drama is starting to build. This is the good stuff where the cracks start to form in the foundation.
And I mean, there's some folks that are getting to that point. There are other relationships where they're still in the newfound honeymoon phase where everything's still laughing and giggly. And
I'm fascinated that one of the benefits they claim of this experience is that you get to have deeper conversations with people right off the bat. But then when they meet in person, they default right back to having shallow interactions with each other.
It's the glossing over of things. It's the, I don't want to make problems. I don't want to point anything out that's negative. I don't want to be perceived as a downer in this.
I do think that does a disjustice. It's an injustice to the show and to the audience because everyone has a lot of inside thoughts about how these relationships are going to crumble. You can see it behind everyone's eyes, but none of them are being honest about it to the camera. And that's when we end up with people just leaving each other the day before the wedding, people saying no, even though they never really expressed to one another that they had concerns. And that eliminates all of the drama. I don't like that. I want to see you either work it out or fight with each other about it.
Nope, I'm not here for the working it out thing, because then that's how you end up with Taylor and Daniel, because we left them off. They were our big cliffhanger couple because we didn't know if they were even going to make it to Honduras. Yes, Honduras.
We're going to have to talk about the trip. Let's just do it now and get it out of the way. Why is it like 2 days long?
I kept joking that, they must have gone for a weekend. And then Carly suggested maybe it was cheaper to go if it was like a Tuesday, Wednesday.
It's midweek.
This feels like resort turnover, bottom of the barrel.
They also have to leave like a TripAdvisor review at the end. I feel like that was part of it as well.
A Facebook review, a TripAdvisor review.
But yeah, where we left them last time, they were in the room that they serve continental breakfast in at the hotel that they're at for one night, I guess, until they're getting on the plane to Honduras.
Those powder eggs, not the scrambled eggs that you want to eat.
No, and the food was gone. The buffet was cleared out by the time Taylor and Daniel sat down there.
I've lost interest already, but they had a nice, quick conversation about basically challenging Daniel's intention with the entire relationship as it stands.
Yeah, so Taylor's questioning if he had followed her on Instagram in the past. And if that's the case, then he knew what she looked like. He knew some of her interests, that he could have used that information to manipulate her in the pods so that she would choose him and they could move forward with a proposal together. When the whole time he knew she was hot. That's what it's about.
Because how else would he know of her interests, her deep-seated interests of faith, hope, love, live, laugh, love, being a nurse, and Taco Bell? There's no other way that you can forge those connections.
And Taylor Swift now, we've learned that as well. So she's just the most unique gal out there.
She is every white woman personified. Just lumped them all together, and then that's it. That's what we got here.
The producers are really letting them squirm, though. They still don't have their phones. So they're having this conversation about whether or not he ever followed her on Instagram in the past. And he's even starting to question himself, like, did I do that? Because she's very convinced that this has taken place.
She will not be fooled. She will not be deceived. But she is a little confused. So then the producers do offer up, here, why don't we simplify this, streamline this conversation? I think this has gone on long enough. Let's go ahead and take a look-see. And basically, we just learned that a lot of people unfollow Taylor.
She has the followers app. She says that to him like he's going to know what that means. I guess it's an app that you can see who has followed and unfollowed you, which, why do you need that?
It feels like something that Taylor does need.
Okay, it feels a little petty, doesn't it? It's like when your friends get upset with you and they unfollow you, and then you're like, oh yeah, see, that bitch did do that. That guy I dated, or that guy I hooked up with briefly one weekend, he unfollowed me now.
Is that the
His
point?
name was Dave.
I hope not. No, I think this just ends up being confusing for Daniel more than anything. This whole Followgate scandal.
Okay, we need to talk about the interface of this app because she has to scroll through every single name. There's no search function.
Is there a search function? And then she's just double checking because nothing was coming up. So now she has to manually double check. Does it just go in chronological order of everyone who follows and unfollows you?
You think Daniel's like, damn, thank God I changed my Instagram handle.
That's what I'm saying is how specific is this getting? Did he have a burner account that was, or like an alternate account that he did do this on and he is remembering that?
So do you believe it happened?
I believe that Daniel doesn't remember if he followed and or unfollowed her.
Okay.
I do believe that.
Doesn't acquit him.
No, and that's what I'm saying. I feel like this would have been a gotcha thing for Taylor, but it really wouldn't have been.
At this point, you kind of just have to see it out and see if he's going to run out of material. If he really did creep on your profile and the only information he has about you is a few adjectives that you threw up there, you're not going to be able to hold a conversation for very long.
I will go back to there were way more synchronicities that happened when they were in the pods that had nothing to do with the fact that it was anything that she had published on her Instagram.
And it happens in this conversation because they both say Bueller at the same time when they're trying to get someone to take her phone back from her.
They were waiting, for someone from the crew to come over, and they quote the same thing at the exact same moment to each other.
I do think that was the moment when Taylor decided to just completely drop this and never bring it up again.
I think it's time to let this go. Yeah. It was the big decision then of, do we want to go to Honduras? It's okay. I think we'll be all right.
It's only a few days.
It's like
if
12 hours.
If it goes poorly, like it's only 48 hours max.
Not even, barely. Yeah. So pretty much their entire time in Honduras, it's just her being so thankful for Daniel being so patient and so understanding. And she's just incredibly grateful for this wonderful guy that she's found in the pods. She almost let him get away with a silly Instagram fight.
I feel like that's going to be the most drama that we see with them.
They're
beyond it now.
Yeah, they downshift right into being so boring. They're like an already old married couple at this point. So for them to be on the show still is kind of lame at this point. It's kind of boring.
We're just going to check in, make sure everything's going okay. She's probably going to be the only one who gets through the entire wedding planning process. That's my prediction.
She's going to help everyone else with their wedding planning because there's nothing else going on in their world. It's not Christmas yet, so they're not booked up.
No, that's Sarah's vibe to me. Sara and Ben aren't going to work out, and then Sarah's going to be a bridesmaid in every one of these weddings.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. That tracks.
They do meet each other's families after they go to the trip together.
And there is a little bit of drama in there. Not so much between Taylor and Daniel themselves, but just kind of in this exploration of meeting those family units.
All right, I'm freaked out by Daniel because he is one of these rare people who are a complete 50-50 split of their parents' faces.
His dad looks a lot like David Bowie, though. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Like
maybe
later,
he'd be a David Bowie impersonator at their wedding.
They have to schedule it around. Yeah, he might be touring again soon.
Both their parents' houses are really nice.
They're very nice. Well, except for the chair that Daniel's mom is sitting in, which is very droopy for some unknown reason.
It was like an SNL skit. Every time they cut back to her, the chair was tipping over further.
And nobody's addressing it. Nobody's saying, oh my gosh, like your chair's tipping over or you're falling over. They do have a very large dog. Has this dog just kind of broken in this chair to an extent?
Maybe the arm of the chair is broken, and every time she leans her weight onto it, it just starts to go.
Well, because it went the one side and then later on it was going the other way. So I think it's just the chair in general. There's structural integrity of the chair is in question.
Okay, the chairs in both the houses I could not stop staring at because we had that. I was waiting for his mom to be like parallel with the floor at one point. And then in Taylor's house, her parents have a dog chair. It's a chair with a dog pattern on the fabric. And I did get distracted from what was going on because I located the chair online.
You missed most of that conversation.
I did. I'll admit it. The chair was $2,600 originally. So there's that. And also, I'm pretty sure her mom was wearing like a Versace or some type of, it was either a designer silk shirt underneath her sweater or it was a very good impersonation. They've got money. That's what I'm saying.
My general assessment of Taylor's parents is that her dad is adorable and her mom is horrible.
I know you didn't like her mom.
She's going to be a nightmare to deal with because there were just red flags, little red flags, almost smothered like vibes that I was getting.
Yeah. This could be another source of tension for them as they plan the wedding because she's upset that she was left out of the proposal.
But it's such a specific complaint that she has about being excluded. I feel excluded from that. Normally, parents aren't involved in a proposal between a couple who are getting engaged.
Well, he could have asked them permission. Maybe then she'd have a heads up. She seemed upset that Taylor's first call wasn't to her to tell her that she'd gotten engaged.
But I think Taylor made it clear, I called as soon as I could because it's part of the show. I didn't have my phone.
Oh, no, she's jealous of the production crew.
Is that it?
That they were there, they witnessed the whole thing. They got to be part of the firsthand feelings and excitement and the experience, and that she missed out on that. But Taylor does not seem as upset. I almost feel like for Taylor, maybe it was refreshing to have a moment that was solely hers, even though it is shared with everybody who watches Netflix. For a moment, it was just her and Daniel and not her mom.
Well, and my filthy read of Taylor is that this has been her issue with her previous relationships because Taylor was making it a big point about how this process, the love is blind process of going into the pods and making this decision, meeting someone, getting to know them, she had to rely on her own intuition, her own instincts, and reach her own conclusion without outside perceptions being factored in. So this felt like, has Taylor had relationships that have been broken up by her mom in the past that she kind of regrets? There was potential there, could have been successful relationships, and this was her way to kind of circumvent that entire scenario?
I mean, maybe. That was a red flag. And then the other red flag for me was talking about they didn't downsize, that they actually built a bigger house so that all of the kids and the grandkids would come home and stay there because it was just giving Cody Wynn Brown.
Well, and that was Daniel's parents did that too, because then Daniel's parents knock on the door and walk in. They all meet each other.
Oh, they're preemptively fighting over where they're going to spend holidays and where the grandkids are going to spend most of their time. Because both of them are like making it clear, oh no, our house is set up to accommodate visitors.
As is ours. Our house is set to be the hosting house. Thank you very much.
Okay, maybe I am getting interested in their story again. It feels like the beginning of a bad rom-com where the parents are going to fight each other.
It's not the drama between Taylor and Daniel. They're going to go ahead. They're going to continue on. Now the drama will just be between their parents fighting over access to them now. And probably fighting over bathroom breaks too, because what was the other fun factoid that we found in the kitchen? When Daniel was assuring Taylor's parents that he will be taking good care of her and that this was all done out of love and great decisions ahead, There was something lurking on the kitchen counter that we discovered.
Yeah, this took us a little too long to figure out. I think it was maybe, had we gardened beforehand?
Yes.
Yeah. At first, we thought it was some type of ice cream thing. Then we combined the words ice and dog. I was pretty sure it said dog. It said hot dog. It's a hot dog cooker. And that's exactly what you thought it was, which is odd because it's not a common appliance.
Not a common appliance that you would just see out there, but it did have kind of a carnival sort of look about it where it just seemed like something that would have metal rollers at the bottom that would just spin your hot cured meats.
It's a 7-Eleven.
Pretty much.
Taquitos at 7-Eleven. I don't think there was anything in the preview about them.
No, because they're getting married. We already know that. That's
Right.
fine. They already addressed their big drama moment. It was Followgate, and now they're done with that.
Okay. Another couple that I feel like has not gotten a lot of screen time is Virginia and Devin. What is happening? Are they into each other?
It's hard to tell at this point because it seems like things are going well. So it seems like, oh, maybe it's just boring, and then that's why they're not getting screen time. But then also, it is just a lot of, they're kind of stuck in that appeasement phase where it's a lot of just agreeing with each other and not saying what they really mean yet.
I'm not sure that that's something Virginia's going to get past. I kind of think that that's a lot of her personality.
And it's just the baby voice delivery of stuff too, when she's just, thank you.
A lot of thank yous and a lot of yeahs when she was meeting his family.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Agreement.
Yeah.
She is agreeable. Definitely.
That's the case. Every once in a while, they would give a look, not towards each other. It was like as the other one looked away. And I'm convinced that they're getting the ick from each other. Small moments of ick that they haven't fully come to terms with.
Well, I like to listen to the things that they try to reassure each other on are usually the things that they're probably feeling hesitant about. And the one that stands out for me is, well, I think we learned that Devin is a bit of a chatter when he gets liquored up, because at one point in Honduras, when they all meet up with the entire cast and they're all talking to each other for the whole night, he comes back to the room with Virginia and he's telling her all of these great things about how wonderful everybody's relationships are and how he could never imagine anybody with anybody else. And everybody's just meant for each other. And it's so great to see. And Virginia's kind of like, yeah, I got to go to the bathroom. Or like she's trying to go.
She was actively on her way to the bathroom and he wouldn't stop talking.
Like trying to get to the other room and is like, okay, yeah, like, can you wrap this up sort of thing? And he's just still chattering on about how great everybody is together. So I don't know if that's just because he's having doubts.
I think so. I think he's trying to convince himself that if he looks around and he feels like all of these other people are meant to be together, that it means that he and Virginia are meant to be together.
Maybe that's a part of it too. They did kind of bang in the pool though.
Did they? It was like alarmed.
There was an ocean motion that was going on.
But then they claimed that they didn't have sex.
They said that they haven't had sex, but maybe like, did that not count? How did that not count? Was it just some touching and rubbing?
Okay, we need to know more because it was visually, you could have fooled me.
There was some bouncing that was happening.
There's a lot of bouncing.
But also, were they just so turned on because they were wearing matching swimsuits? Did they coordinate this?
That must be it. If the conversation you're having is about how you brought swimsuits in the same colors and what a coincidence that is, I'm not sure that that is the basis for a long, healthy, happy marriage.
I think that just means that you both bought new bathing suits and those colors happen to be in style this season.
Yeah, that's what's in this season at TJ Maxx.
It's meant to be.
I'm sorry, that's what was in last season
Right.
and is now at TJ Maxx.
It's made its way to TJ Maxx. The whole storyline that they're building out here is that money is their tension point, because it seems like when they get back from Honduras, they visited each other's places. I'm upset that we don't get to do this because this was a Married at First Sight staple thing where you take the other person to your apartment or wherever you're living, whatever vehicle or parents' house that you happen to be living in, Because
It's happened before on Married at First Sight.
Depending on the season, yeah, it might be somebody living out of their car. It happened. So that was a big part of it. And they didn't do that for everybody, but we did see it for Devin and Virginia, where they kind of give each other that opportunity to see them in their own space here. And what we learn at Devin's apartment is that he's got a lot of shoes. He spends a lot of money on sneakers.
I don't think that that's at all surprising since he plays basketball and like that's an interest of his and he collects shoes. And they were like very well organized and maintained.
They're in very good condition. A lot of times with most people who are kind of sneakerheads like this too, there is like an entire economy that's based around the sneakers too. So it's like you can probably sell those for a collector's item too in some ways, in some cases. So it's showing that there's an interest. There's something that's very important to him. It's not too overdone. I mean, it's more shoes than I would ever have in an apartment. But if that's his thing, cool. It's not like a hoarding apartment where there's just shit everywhere. There's a ton of stuff. It's unorganized. It's a mess. It's not that.
They both had nice places.
It was very nice. It was very well taken care of. So I think I'm okay with that. So to have that as a red flag, I think that's a little too much.
Well, the shocking part of it is how expensive each pair costs. He mentions that some of them are like $600. Not all of them, but there are a couple of pairs that are a lot more expensive. And she seems like taken aback by the fact that a pair of shoes could cost that much money. That's the moment when Virginia's brain said, maybe we keep our bank accounts separate. Because that becomes the talking point once they get to her place.
We need to have financial audit scenes. I think that's what needs to happen on this show.
I don't think they talked about money before this, other than we both want to have money.
I'm working on becoming a millionaire, and my first step is to start a nonprofit.
Okay, that is what they talked about in the pods for sure.
Okay, that's not the recipe for monetary success if you're doing a nonprofit organization. Sorry, that's usually not where you start.
Maybe that's a side dream.
That's an eventual thing. If you have a successful business where you are making a bunch of money, then you can start a nonprofit that you are able to run as it's a passion project because you're not making money. That's not your living, but that's something that you're personally invested in.
We know that they give them a list of questions to ask. How come like none of them are, what is your credit score? When was the last time a creditor called you?
Do you have anything in collections?
Have you ever shared a bank account with a partner in the past, and how did that go?
Have you filed for bankruptcy in the last 5 years?
It's like, these are big questions, and I don't blame Virginia one bit for wanting a prenup, given the circumstance of being on this show. I don't think that people should have a problem with that anyway, but coming on this show where you don't know someone, you've known them for 2 weeks, and now you're going to combine your financial resources that then will need to be separated when you get divorced. Say if you get divorced. Yeah. But on this show, it's a matter of time.
Yeah, for some folks, it's when. Well, I think we got to see, it was Virginia went to go meet Devin's family as part of these episodes here. And most of it, it's just faith, church, God.
And a lot of yes.
Family, a lot of confirmation stuff. We find out about the range of children they're looking to have, 2 to 6 kids, which is a pretty big window.
That's another thing that's a red flag to me because that feels like a very agreeable answer. It's such a big range that whether you want to have 2 kids or you want to have so many kids that you can't all fit in one car together, that they're open to all of it.
There's a difference. Yeah.
It's a completely different life. I'm not sure they really know what they want or that they're being honest about it.
They're keeping their options open, but the prenup does come up as part of that conversation with his family. I don't think Devin's family were into that. That was a red flag for them, even though Virginia's making it abundantly clear she's just trying to protect her future generational wealth that she's trying to build here.
I don't get the impression, though, that there's a lot of money to protect on either side right now. Which is usually people who ask for prenups. There's usually not much to fight over at this point, right? I know it's the point of the future that everyone believes that they're going to be a millionaire one day. But his family is really turned off by something that at this point is a moot point.
Yeah, normally if you're doing a prenup, it's because you have a lot of things. A lot of money, a trust
Neither
fund.
of them own a house right now. I'm just saying they don't have assets. There's like, what is there that's going to be? And now I'm like talking back my point earlier about thinking that she's right to ask for it in this circumstance. It's just they got upset as though
he has the sneakers. That's a whole bunch. Those are assets. He's got more on his inventory list, net worth value.
They probably are worth like
it's probably worth a good chunk of cash here. You need to document that just for insurance purposes. If somebody breaks in and steals stuff, if there's a fire.
Yeah. Imagine if you had a fire.
A flood, any sort of damage that could happen to that would be really detrimental to your net worth.
The point she's trying to make to them is, yes, I want a prenup, but that doesn't mean that I have an expectation that we're not going to support each other financially.
They did kind of briefly mention traditional spousal roles versus a 50-50 household. What are your stances on that? And I think they made it pretty clear that they're more of the 50-50 type of if something requires doing, then they need to work together and do that. If somebody's not able to handle that in some capacity, then stepping up and covering for the other person. Because that's always the negative connotation with a 50-50 split of responsibility is it's not always 50-50 because sometimes if somebody's stressed out with work or if somebody's super busy with something or if their parents are sick or if they're sick or something's going on, yes, 100% of the things need to get done, but it's not always 50-50. Sometimes there has to be some give and take where you're taking over a little bit more responsibility to alleviate your partner and give them a break as needed there.
I think that's a very nice thing for them to say in theory, but you don't know that until you actually see it in practice of how you work together in a household.
I worry that Devin is the type where he's going to say 50-50, and then I don't think he fully understands what 50% would be for that.
I think that's true of a lot of people.
A lot of people, but specifically in this case, I think Devin is the one who's not fully prepared. He doesn't know what he's agreeing to, and then he is going to have to check a lot of expectations that he does have for Virginia as a wife. So that might be another struggle that we end up seeing.
I really don't know that we know them well enough.
That's the vibe I got.
I don't think they know themselves well enough. They don't know each other well enough. We don't know them well enough. I won't be shocked if once he sees, was it Britt who he had talked to in the pods?
It was Britt, yeah.
I kind of think that might be the nail in the coffin for Virginia.
That was the preview that we saw was he does reconnect with Britt. And it looks like from the conversation that they showed us very briefly, maybe he's having some doubts about Virginia.
They just don't seem to be clicking now that they're outside of the pods. And I question if there's enough there for them to actually have a long-term relationship.
Well, there's other people that we don't have to worry about long-term here. And I think that would be Ben and Sara.
Wow. So Ben was one of the guys that I immediately disliked this season. Obviously, Dave was the other.
Yeah.
I have been internally fighting myself over which one I despise more. And I'm annoyed that Dave has been getting so much camera time with the conflict that's going on with Lauren. And we haven't gotten to see more of Ben because I believe that Ben is a piece of shit. And if we got to see more of him, he would have a worse edit.
Well, here's the problem. Ben and Sara are getting along. Because Ben seems like on a surface level, I think the way I was able to summarize this was that he seems like he's a good dater, but he's a terrible partner.
But not a good person.
No, not
Different
a good person.
from a good dater.
Okay, and what I'm meaning by he's a good dater is he knows how to be fun and joking, and he can be quick and...
First date energy.
First date, great impression. He can build that up and make you feel a certain way of, boy, I really want to get to know this guy more and get to see him again in some capacity. But then that's not actually him. You're not getting to know him. He knows what you want to hear.
It's the first date flirtation version of himself.
Where he's very fun, very easygoing, very light. He's that guy that you hear about on those episodes of Who the Bleep Did I Marry? When everything is so great leading up to the marriage. And as soon as they get married, a switch flips. And then he becomes this possessive nightmare psycho guy.
He also has the same affliction that Dave has, which is that he keeps verbally expressing that he is just waiting for that thing, that flaw that Sarah's going to have, that's going to turn him off.
All of their conversations, it's the surface level stuff, like what we were talking about before, where you're supposed to be diving into deeper conversations in the pod. You move past all this stuff. You learn so much in such a short amount of time. They're kind of reverting back to, it's all that surface level bullshit that it's just, oh, it's so great. And I can't believe we feel like this. And I'm so happy to be here with you. I'm looking forward to our future. Nothing actually being discussed, though. It's all just empty, positive affirmations.
Yeah, and he has youth group energy that is making me very uncomfortable every time he smiles.
It's only a matter of time. There's a fight that's coming, and I knew that was going to happen, but it's been smooth sailing here, at least in Honduras, from what we saw.
Well, except for when we find out about his hygiene habits.
Well, so that wasn't as alarming for Sarah, though.
I think
it was alarming for us.
I'm pretty sure that Sarah asked that question after they spent an evening together, because we do find out that they had sex.
They totally banged.
And that's when she discovered that he only washes his hair every other week.
Yeah, I was washing hair every other week. He does laundry once a month. He cleans his bed sheets every 2 weeks. If you're cleaning your bed sheets every 2 weeks, I don't think that's going to help if you're only washing your hair every other week.
I have so many questions. If you're not going to wash your hair often, then you need to wash your pillowcases, because I am not getting acne staying at your place. Problem number 1. 2, washing the laundry on a monthly basis. Is that because it's inconvenient for you to clean your laundry because like maybe he doesn't have an in-unit washer or dryer? Or is it out of laziness and I am now going to become your laundress?
Your launderer?
I may have invented a word. I don't know.
Laundress. Oh, because it's like a mistress who does laundry.
The bang maid.
The bang maid in Always Sunny in Philadelphia terms.
Yeah. That is Sarah's future here, if they ever get down the aisle. What do you think it is? He makes it worse when he says that he only does the laundry once a month, but it's because I wear the same outfit all the time.
That's not making it sound better. Yeah, that's not helping. Ben, you're not improving my opinion on this.
I am like getting a lot of satisfaction out of that conversation, which I hope everyone saw and paid attention to, because I do think that coming out of this, he expects that he's going to have girls lined up ready to jump on his dick. And I hope they remember this moment.
I was worried about this. And then the other telling thing for me about Ben is when they did get back from Honduras, and then you see in their apartment, there is just a plastic folding table behind their couch in their living room, which is now going to be Ben's office, which work from home. More power to you.
I'm not going to knock it because I would do anything I needed to be able to continue working from home.
Do not care. But if that's going to be a permanent solution for you, please provide yourself with the proper workspace that you need. A plastic folding table that's behind your couch in your living room, in your apartment. That's not going to do it, man. I think
production was like, I don't know. We have this table from craft services. From the pods.
That's basically what it was.
You can have this.
Yeah. There's not even a table cover, a tablecloth on it.
You think all day she just hears his mouse scratching against the plastic?
Yeah, that's what's going on. There's no mouse pad. No, absolutely not.
Although she's a nurse, so she does get to leave the apartment to go to work. So maybe her ears aren't subjected to it.
It's just the placement of it, too. It's just looming behind them in the living room. I wouldn't be able to sit and watch anything on TV relaxing, knowing that there's a computer monitor just hanging above my head.
Do they have 1 or 2 bedrooms in these apartments? You know how on Married at First Sight, they'll give them 2-bedroom apartments now so that they can like escape each other, but they don't have the excuse of, I don't want to sleep here. So
there's
now they have
always
another room.
Yeah, there's always the option, even though they don't want to say that that's the option.
Because I would not be able to stop thinking about how dirty the pillowcases were. I wouldn't be able to sleep.
I guess it's probably a good thing that he doesn't have a tablecloth. He would never clean that thing either. So
It's a shame we didn't get to see his apartment.
that's what I'm saying. I need to see that. He has Pigpen energy.
Yes. I don't think that we're getting a real version of himself because we have that and then we go and meet his friends or some version of his friend group.
This was the youth group vibe for me.
Yeah.
This was like people that see me at church once a week, even though the one lady said that she was agnostic and she's never attended church in her life. So that's not it. But
he
still,
did attempt to talk her into going to church, though.
That's true. Yeah. He, not for lack of trying on Ben's part. But I think what I'm getting at is just the level of interpersonal connection between these people. It feels like it's at arm's length. Again, nobody really knows Ben. Nobody truly knows Ben.
Not that they're showing us. I think that the people who really know him, he is not going to film with.
I think the people who do really know Ben don't want to be around him.
That, or they're the other degenerates who hang out in the bars in Minneapolis, who he doesn't want anyone to have to meet them because Sara will immediately clock who he is based on who he hangs out with. So we have to meet this safe group of friends.
So this does feel catered in a lot of different ways, but there's some stuff that they still can't navigate around. When Sara brings up equality and how they had addressed a lot of these topics of discussion in the pods, there were a few wincing faces of, uh-oh, that's not Ben's strong suit.
Friends, yeah.
Equality.
We need to ask more questions. Why is she not asking the friends questions? We're letting the friends be the ones who ask how this whole experiment has been going. Why aren't we picking their brains to get to know Ben better?
Sara doesn't have any questions because she knows if there's going to be questions, there's going to be more answers that she doesn't like to hear.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Constantly going to be chipping away at the foundation that they've built.
The veneer.
It's very
the
thin.
Veneers
It's thinning,
that we keep seeing.
Thinning now.
His smile just always seems disingenuous to me. And we finally hit a bump in the road at the end of the last episode, which seems to have been planted by our producer, who was like, Sara, you have ignored every red flag that this man has thrown in your fucking path. I'm going to send you a TikTok and I need you to watch it.
Open your eyes.
Open your phone in front of Ben.
Well, that's the weird thing is that she showed him the TikTok and was forcing him to watch it. And he goes, oh yeah, I think that's about me. We watched the TikTok. The woman in question on the TikTok does not name names, does not say anything.
She has since, but in the one that they're referring to, she will not say who it is because she's afraid of getting sued, which seems a little dramatic. But he deduced it was him because he does in fact know her.
Well, I thought it was interesting that he knew immediately she was talking about him when she was talking about shitty men who treat women horribly. He's like, oh yeah, that sounds like me. And it was like, wait, I'm sorry. How are we reaching that conclusion? Because there wasn't a lot of personal information. She didn't describe any looks of who was involved or what letter their name started with. There's no other details. Just talking about it's terrible that reality TV puts men on this pedestal and how terrible people get a platform, shitty men who treat women horribly, especially. And he was like, oh yeah, that's me.
And he had already seen it. He was like, oh, while we were at the brewery, I saw it. And then I blocked her. So we're all good now.
Fixed it.
And she's kind of like had a vendetta against me for the past 4 years. I haven't talked to her, but she's, I don't know, really upset.
His story doesn't add up because he said that he saw it at the brewery and he blocked her. But then he also said that he blocked her from 4 years ago. And it's like, you expect me to believe that you were on TikTok 4 years ago and you blocked her? I don't think so.
Maybe he meant Instagram.
Maybe. But my other strike against Ben is that Sara was showing him a TikTok and he immediately says, oh yeah, I already saw that. So that just lets you know.
He has to, you're supposed to politely
you pretend
still watch
like
it.
You haven't seen it and then you know where to laugh. That's fine. Go ahead and laugh or have your reaction that you need to have. Maybe don't say, oh, that's me when they're saying horrible things about men who treat women terribly. Yeah, that sounds like me.
He doesn't know what upset her, though. Like, there's no specifics. as to what he may have done that may have compelled this woman to get on the internet and declare Love is Blind is casting men who do not want to get married and who are horrible to the women that they date.
So the telling part for me is that Ben says that he doesn't remember these interactions with this woman.
Typical.
Doesn't remember anything, but then goes immediately to discrediting her. Oh, don't listen to what she says, though.
Because he's gaslighting her.
Because he's telling Sara, yeah, that it doesn't mean anything. It's nothing. It's a blip on the radar. It didn't mean anything. We didn't even hook up. We met up a couple of times, but it was nothing serious. Then we just stopped talking.
I will give Sara a lot of credit for calling his bullshit, because she said to him, I don't understand why someone would do this then if it was that unimportant of an interaction that you had.
That doesn't make any sense of why there would be this sort of reaction. So something either happened that you're not telling me about.
And if you don't tell me now and I find out later, that's pretty much the end of this.
Do you think he's going to tell her? He's going to magically remember everything?
I think that there's a better chance that someone sends her one of his YouTube business cards that he left on their nightstand before he fesses up to the truth.
Because that's a thing.
It is a thing. Yeah. There are many more women in Minneapolis with stories about Ben.
Just the tip of the iceberg here for Ben and Sara.
Monica and Joey?
We've got Monica and Joey.
Man, I enjoy them. I think I enjoy Joey a little bit more than I thought that I would.
Yeah, now that Monica isn't hunching down or crouching over anymore, she's standing upright. She's able to maneuver properly here and normally amongst everyone else in the cast. I think I am still more on board with Joey than Monica, but it is nice to see them together. There is that level of fun that they have.
I think they have a genuine connection.
Yeah, I think that's good. That's a good way to summarize it. It is dangerously close to that sort of, we're laughing at everything. Everything is so funny. Everything is so great, that flying high on a new relationship, which I would argue that Sara and Ben are going through that way more, where Sara is just blinders are on and she is all in on this. Whereas with Monica and Joey, it doesn't seem like it's as forced of that kind of narrow-minded thought of this relationship is so good.
I am worried that once they get into living together, that is going to be the downfall, because they get along a lot when they converse, but they are two very different people.
Yeah, it's all going to be coming down to how do they handle conflict. And from what we see in these episodes, it seems like Monica doesn't handle conflict very well at all. They kind of start off a little bit more personal, where it's Joey sharing some details about kind of his OCD, and he's trying to explain a lot of that experience to Monica. She seems to kind of get it, but not fully.
I was very uncomfortable by the end of that, because it seemed like what Monica took away from it was, oh, that's great that you overcame having OCD, and now you don't live with any of those struggles anymore.
It was like a rear view mirror kind of response to it, of that. I'm so glad that's behind you.
Which I do think Joey presented it that way to a certain extent, but I'm not sure that she fully understands everything that was encompassed in having OCD. Like, he maybe has stopped counting things the way that he was. But we do see throughout these episodes that as far as cleanliness goes and organization, I don't think Joey's very flexible in those departments. And I don't think Monica has any of those skills.
She's not bringing her A game when it comes to laundry and cleanliness, because they're having a conversation in their apartment once they're back from Honduras, because nothing really happens in Honduras. They're still very honeymoon phase, very surface level, still laughing, giggling, and having a great time with everything. Then they get to some real conversations where Monica's talking about a pair of jeans that she had in college that had a spider's nest in the crotch of it because it was in her closet.
She did the laundry, so she claims. And then she left the laundry on the floor in her closet to rot for an extended period of time.
It was clean, she alleges.
I don't think that it needs to be dirty to attract a spider.
I feel like
it was just a convenient spot for the spider to form a nest.
I think a warm pile of clothes is way more susceptible to have a spider be trying to make a nest in there.
Well, it would only be warm for so long. Or you think just all the clothes piled up, it was warmer than the corners of the closet?
There. Yeah, it's like a core of it.
She incubated spiders.
Pretty much. That's what's going on.
So gross. He was so freaked out by this and needed to know all of the details about how this occurred. I think partially because of the anxiety related to the fact that this is an event that could possibly happen.
He's seeing spider crotch in his future, and he is concerned now more than ever because we find out that dumping clean laundry on the floor is just kind of part of Monica's process. That's how she does laundry.
They're trying to fold clothes together, and it's nice that they're trying to do this household activity together. But yeah, she does spill them out onto the floor in this apartment that they just moved into today.
At first, she's explaining it to Joey, and Joey's not able to visually make that scene happen in his mind. I don't understand how you could take a basket of clean laundry and dump it on the floor to then go through it and fold, because the clean laundry has now been dumped on the floor. So she has to illustrate this in practice. She needs to show him the next time they do laundry, boom, there goes the laundry. It's all over the floor. And Joey immediately picks it all up. He's like, yeah, let's never do that again. I don't like that.
I knew this would upset you.
Yeah.
You wouldn't do this either, would you?
No, you don't. Don't do that. Why would you do that? Especially this apartment. I don't live here. This isn't your apartment. This isn't my apartment. This is from production. We just showed up here.
No, and production's walking around with their cameras too.
Come on, man.
I don't know that I would have freaked out that the clothes had gotten spilled on the floor, but it wouldn't be my favorite thing. I wouldn't have gotten as upset as you and Joey would get.
How about a shared sock bin? What are your feelings on the shared sock bin?
Okay, this is my issue with the sock bin, is that I know I'm particular and I like certain pairs of socks, and I would be upset that those socks may have been worn by someone else and they're not there when I want them.
Yeah, or we would end up liking the same pair of socks,
yes.
And then I would just resent you for the fact that you have those socks on and I don't.
Mm-hmm.
That wouldn't do any good.
But it wouldn't be the idea of putting my foot in a sock that another foot has been in.
I'll put socks on that you have had in your repertoire. I'm not saying that I have.
Oh,
I'm saying that
I was like, when do you wear my socks?
I'm not opposed to it. I've never done it. So that's the point that I'm trying to make here. Never done it. I wouldn't be opposed to it if it was our socks. Okay. The whole house, an entire family of people sharing one bin of socks, though? A father, a mother, and 2 daughters.
That is where it gets a little weird.
That's too much for me. That's too far. A bridge too far for me. Also, the way that she casually brought this up, like it was the most normal thing. Yeah, where's your shared sock bin? We need to find a place to put our shared sock bin for our apartment. What are you talking about? What does that mean? It was like that story on Reddit with the person who was looking for the poop stick. Do you remember that?
No, I do not.
This is definitely a real thing when somebody was trying to explain a story that originated on Reddit is not something that I recommend doing. But it was somebody
What is this apparatus?
The poop stick?
Yeah.
It was somebody
I don't know
who
why I'm asking, but I am.
I think it was like one of those today I fucked up sort of stories where they had they had clogged somebody's toilet. Like they were at somebody's house where they had clogged the toilet, and then they were asking for their poop stick. Hey, do you guys I need the poop stick. And people were like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. What do you mean? You're saying poop stick like I know what that means. Yeah, the stick that you keep near the toilet that you break up the poop with. To just like poke at some poop until it breaks apart and then goes down.
They don't even mean a plunger.
Not a plunger. They meant like the wood stick.
Just the remaining part of the plunger.
No.
The plunger part has...
They meant like a paint stirrer. You know, like the free sticks from Home Depot.
I hate this.
Yeah. Everybody does. But to talk about the shared sock bin with such confidence, like this is the most normal thing. Because then when Joey finally experiences it, he gets to see it in all of its glory when he goes and visits her parents' house. And he's like, have you ever heard of anybody else having this sort of a setup in their home? And Monica has to think about it. You know what? No, I don't think so.
Come on, she knew it was weird.
It's odd. Not quirky. It's weird.
In all of her years, she never went to a friend's house and asked for the sock bin, inquired as to where the family sock bin is.
Does Monica have a lot of friends? It seems like her sister is probably her only friend that she's allowed to have.
Is she a friend? She's an enemy.
That's a great point that we need to get into here.
They have like a very good time together. They do a fam jam, which is just where they take out wooden instruments.
Not just wooden instruments, but yes, a mixed variety of percussive instruments, perhaps.
And they all played them together. And I think they were trying to embarrass Joey and Monica, but Joey is not fazed at all by this.
Joey is thriving in this environment. He is very accepting of this. He's on board.
So I thought he made a great impression. He didn't say shit about the sock bin in front of everybody.
No, he waited until they were upstairs to kind of question it a little bit, just to plant some seeds for Monica to think on. Is this normal? Not really.
He participated in the fam jam. And now Monica and her sister go outside to talk about how things are going.
I knew Joey was going to be a tambourine man too. As soon as they were handing those around and they had the basket, I knew he was going to go for a tambourine. But yeah, Monica and what's her name? Nicole?
Mm-hmm.
With 2 L's, so you can't trust her.
Let me tell you, she's met Joey for 15 minutes and she thinks that she knows exactly what's going on here.
She's got a really good read on people.
Didn't she have like an attitude in her voice? The way you just spoke was exactly how she was talking.
The way she said it, let me know she does not have a good read on people. Yes. She has preconceived notions about people, and she wants people to fit into the box that she makes for them.
Well, she thinks that Joey just knows all the right things to say and do, and that this is just a facade, and that he doesn't seem like her type, like physically, his personality, the whole thing just doesn't make sense to her. And they're doomed. You're doomed. You're probably not going to get married. And if you do, I'm 5 years older than you, so I always thought that I would get married first.
It's crazy.
So, you know.
Crazy that you're getting married. I'm just worried that divorce is inevitable at this point, though. So everything that she's saying is just backhanded. My filthy read for Nicole is that this is what she's been doing to Monica for their entire life.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. She does not like her sister.
Nicole
She's jealous of her, or there's also the weird connection about how Nicole's current boyfriend is someone who was originally interested in Monica.
But they were chatting online, and it seemed like everything that they were learning about each other, Monica kept saying, boy, it sounds like you would be really good for my sister. I wonder whose advice that was through that whole time, because I'm sure when Monica was telling her sister about this, not that she would remember it this way, but I'm sure that Nicole originated a lot of that suggestion.
So your theory is that Nicole stole Monica's former boyfriend?
That's exactly what my theory is. And has convinced everyone else that it's just this funny origin story, how things have worked out. There's something there.
I loved that Joey made that joke in front of everyone about how the boyfriend is still trying to get to Monica.
That's the long con?
Yeah. Because I think that he has the potential to say more things in front of them or to them. And I am living for the day that he confronts Nicole.
Nicole did not like that at all. She immediately can sniff out that Joey isn't afraid to say some shit because he's joking about it and he's kidding. And it is in a playful manner, but he's a little bit too close to the truth.
Maybe she was turned off by when he said he went to therapy and he worked on himself. And she was like, oh no, we can't have anyone who's been in therapy in this family.
Yeah.
Because you will disrupt the toxicity that we have working here.
I have been manufacturing this toxicity and thriving in it for my entire life. I don't want you to challenge that system.
I'm convinced, though, that that is why he immediately hears what Monica is saying to him and kind of questions it. Like, well, has your sister always had issues with people that you've been in relationships with? And the dots kind of start to connect for Monica because you know what? Now that you say it, yeah. Like, not just boyfriends, but friends as well. Like, pretty much anyone I surround myself with in my life, she doesn't like or she has shit to say about.
And so Joey, with his experience from therapy, says, well, seems like there might be some unresolved issues in there then. I'm not going to go any further because I'm not a licensed professional. I'm just going to go ahead and let you know it sounds like we're scratching the surface on a couple of things here.
I'm not saying that Joey's got everything figured out, but he figured this out.
I like where his head's at. He's in the right spot here. So I'm all for Joey. My main concern now is that Monica is telling Joey, you know, I think you should talk to Nicole. So Monica wants to send Joey to talk to Nicole directly about these issues and try to figure out why they're not getting along. I think we already have an idea why they're not getting along.
And it's not Joey.
I don't think it's Joey.
She has never confronted her sister in her entire life, and she's not about to start now in the next few weeks.
And the scary part is, I don't think anybody in this family can bring anything up with Nicole. So that's where Monica's like, I can't talk to her about this. Maybe you try to talk to her about this. And she is throwing Joey to the wolves here.
What do you think their downfall is going to be? Because I see the potential for it to either be, or maybe it's a combination of these things. She's very much a type B personality and he's type A about things. I don't know if they'll be able to find a happy medium that works for the both of them. And then the toxicity that her family has going on.
It's more so that, because I think the dumping the laundry on the floor, these other things, maybe that's a spot of growth for Monica. Maybe it's time for you to analyze, is this the best way to be doing this too? Maybe there are some things that we could do. Is it that important to you when you come up from doing laundry where you say, you know what I have to do? I have to dump my clean laundry all over the floor before I can fold it. Can we try maybe dump it on the couch or dump it on the bed? And then you can sort through things in those ways. Can we try a different spot than just the fucking floor?
I don't have a lot of hope for her. Just if the spider's nest did not deter you from throwing future laundry on the floor ever again, I don't know how we're going to change that behavior.
Well, maybe that's why she doesn't do it in closets anymore. She threw that.
Just out in the open.
She leaves it
in the living room, in the common areas.
She can see if anything is festering, if anything's moving or alive in there. No, I think the toxic family culture that is being cultivated there, that's going to be the bigger threat because Joey is not going to turn a blind eye to that.
It's time to talk about the most frustrating couple of the season.
We have so many notes for Lauren and David. There are so many talking points to go through here because, yeah, if you're talking about weird relationships with sisters, David's got to be right in contention there too.
I am confused by him.
I'm not. I think I had a pretty good read on this guy. From the moment we were in the pods with him, I knew he was going to be a problem. And the second he gets his phone back, I knew he was just going to be a dick again. Seems to be Seems what we're on par with here for right now. Because basically with them in Honduras, the vibes are just off. They're trying to go through the motions. They're trying to have the fun honeymoon, happy-go-lucky phase here that everybody else seems to really be latched onto, but they just can't get there. It's weird.
He seems like he's in a distant, far-off place every time that they're together.
1,000-yard stare.
Yeah, he has completely disassociated whenever he's in the same room as her. And he's doing the same thing as Ben, where he's looking for there to be an issue. And he keeps saying it out loud to Lauren, but I feel like it's a confession that he is disappointed that he has not found this thing yet because it would make his life so much easier if he could just say, this is our irreconcilable difference that we're never going to be able to get past. And so far, all he's been able to gather is that she gets up a lot during the middle of the night to pee.
She's disruptive on his sleep patterns because she has to pee at night multiple times. Which I think Taylor points out at one point too, when she's like, well, do you snore or do you move around when you sleep? Maybe you're keeping her up.
Oh my God. Watching when all the couples got together in Honduras that night, it was even funnier the second time that we watched it because every scene is Dave talking to another cast member about Lauren.
Way too much. There's TMI sharing that's going on too, because if you're talking about your soon-to-be wife, your new partner here, who she gets up and pees a lot at night, is that something that you need to tell every single person on the cast individually?
No, but I'm pretty sure he's doing that because he wants someone else to say, oh, that's annoying.
That's what it ends up being. When he's talking about these different shortcomings that he's looking for, that he hasn't been able to find any yet. And that's crazy. Isn't that crazy? That we're just so compatible and there's nothing wrong with you. That's weird. And then he's complaining about things that do bother him to other people because he's trying to figure out which one's going to be the valid one that people will accept me for using as a reason of why this will never work.
That, and I think it was an intelligence gathering session as well, where he was trying to get info from the other women to see if they had anything else about Lauren that he could use.
But they are all defending Lauren, and they love Lauren because Lauren is very sweet. She's very nice, and you need to be nice to her, David.
I loved that Taylor came for him.
She was not putting up with it.
No, I don't remember what happened between them in the pods, like if she talked to him for very long at all, but she knows what he is.
I think she was one of the first people when he was doing his jokes, if you want to call it, his routine, when he was asking, oh, so you're 30? What's wrong with you? Why are you here? Haha. It was his put downs that I think he realized pretty quickly not working great in the pods, so he needed to change it up. And I think he went with a little bit more of a subtle tact with Lauren. He still brings it out every once in a while because, I mean, he brought it up too when he was ripping on her for her hair on the one day.
Oh my God. Yeah, when they're sitting on the boat in Honduras and she's asking like, well, what's going on? Like, is there anything that bothers you? And he mentioned the thing about her getting up a lot to go to the bathroom. And then he makes a joke about her new hair. I'm like, her new hair, she braided her hair because you're outside all day.
And then he's wondering why they haven't had sex. He's seen her naked, which is nice, but they haven't had sex. But he'll be here when she's ready. Will you?
Maybe if he stops negging her and constantly asking what's wrong with her and talking about his sister, we'll get somewhere.
Between that and, yeah, it's the things that he's talking about are just very strange. Very strange.
I knew the relationship was already over. When they were on vacation, they did the dunk tank. And she dunked him on like the second throw.
Yeah. Emasculating.
Yep. I was like, that's it. He has so much internalized patriarchy, which is funny because isn't she the one in the pods who said she had a fuck the patriarchy tattoo?
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, I thought that's what she said.
Maybe, yeah.
Well, she found the patriarchy.
Yeah.
It's right here.
Shouldn't fuck the patriarchy. Please don't. Because that killed me too, is how confident he is with, oh, whenever she's ready, I'll be here to pump 3 times and pass out on top of her. Like, that's what you have to offer is whenever you're ready for the machine.
I don't even think he wants to do it. I think it'll be a pity fuck if they do. And not because there's anything wrong with Lauren. He has already convinced himself that he is running for the hills the minute he finds a scapegoat to get out of here.
He's just trying to figure out what is the acceptable reason, what is going to be the wide audience capturing wrongdoing that I can find with Lauren. And he kind of starts touching on something here where they were talking about previous relationships before they entered the pods. And this is where we have some baggage. I don't think this is Lauren's baggage. I think this is David's baggage.
This is the thing that I'm confused about. She tells him that she was casually seeing someone before she came on the show. Wasn't a relationship. It was someone she was hooking up with. It was never anything serious, not someone that she saw a future with, which is why she came on the show. And he will not get past the fact that she was, quote, in a relationship or sleeping in the same bed as another guy just a few nights before she left to come on the show.
Which she has told him repeatedly, that's not true, that's not accurate. But then he keeps hearing things from his friends and people in his life who say that they know details of what was going on.
Better than her, the person who was there.
Who he got to know in the pods, who he trusts.
Does he?
He's communicated with. Well, I mean, at that time, yes. So why don't you trust her now when she's telling you these things? Because all of these other boners in your life are, I'm sure every single person in David's life is a total fucking douchebag. I am absolutely convinced of that. So that'll be my prediction for the next 2 episodes that drop next week, is we get to see some of David's
douchebag friends,
tight crew that he runs with.
You know who we won't see is the guy she was hooking up with, because he has been all over the internet, all over TikTok. He's making fake Love is Blind posters of himself because he's upset that they have talked about him on the show, even though he didn't want to participate in the show. I guess the producers reached out to him wanting to talk to him once this became a huge part of Lauren and Dave's storyline. He's a loser. It's very clear. He's a 37-year-old lawyer who sent his building a threatening email about how they either had to cease production of Love is Blind because he lives in the same building as they were filming in.
Which is weird.
You're going to cease production of a Netflix show?
Or
Nick and Vanessa Lachey are going to come visit you.
Or you can pay to put him up in some temporary housing somewhere else.
Why? Isn't that like a lot? And it was all because he was saying this was emotionally distressing to him to have these 2 people as temporary tenants in the building, and that he couldn't use the common areas because I guess he was afraid of interacting with them. Like, would Dave beat the shit out of him? Is that what he's worried about?
I wouldn't want to live in the same building as David either, so I could get on board with this. I'm not knocking the guy for that. And clearly, Lauren kind of has a type.
Yeah,
what are you doing, hon?
Lauren, we need a come to Jesus moment because you have bad taste in men. Even if that other guy was just someone you were hooking up with and you weren't in a relationship with, bad choice. Bad choice.
And that's saying something, because now you're on to Dave. And we saw Dave's apartment, and that was red flags all over the place.
Does he live there?
I don't know. I don't know how someone can live in a place where if you open every kitchen cupboard, there's nothing. And when I say nothing, there was absolutely not just no food. There were no cups, no bowls, no plates. There was no silverware.
No salt, no pepper. It was no signs of life.
Devoid of everything. The fridge was empty. The freezer was empty. Does this man just order in for every meal?
I kind of think he lives at his sister's place.
For a couple reasons, I guess.
He didn't want to say that because he technically has his own place and he knows it sounds weird. But there's no way he stays here. He also was trying to talk it up to her where like they're looking at the living room and he's like, yeah, so I've got this couch and I got this blanket that I keep here on top of the couch in case.
Sometimes, when it's cold.
Or like if someone wants to stop by and they want to stay overnight, like
my sister.
I'm fully prepared to have guests.
Yeah, it's great.
And then they pan over to what he is using as an entertainment center to prop up the TV.
Well, is this in the living room? Or
yeah,
is
this is across from the couch.
I thought this was in his bedroom because there was a closet that was over to the side there too. That was where his pimp hat was.
Oh, I don't know. Is this a studio? I don't know what is happening
I
in
can't
here.
tell what piece of furniture this is supposed to be because it looks like a dresser, but there's no drawers. There are tracks, like there should be 6 drawers.
Oh, they've all been removed. They're broke a long time ago.
And there's stuff that is just strewn about inside of this and then on top of this too.
There is a laptop that has fallen into a hole where the bottom of the drawer used to be. And it's charging. It's
dangling.
He is going to burn this building down.
With the power cord. That's why I don't want to live in the same building as David. Just fire risk alone.
I just find it hilarious that he sees himself as such a catch. He thinks he's hot, that he's got a great job. I don't know what he thinks about this apartment, but it wasn't as impressive as he was trying to make it out to be.
That's what he's so upset about by this, is that he relies on his looks so heavily that he doesn't realize that if you're looking at him holistically as a person, he's a bag of shit. He really is, in a lot of different ways.
Anything he's got in the looks department, the personality department cancels out. That's for sure.
Doesn't stand a chance. You've been relying on the looks a little too long. And I think he knows that the clock's ticking on that too.
Maybe his sister is like the female version of him, and that's why he's so obsessed with her. You've never used the TikTok "would you date yourself" filter?
No, never. Because I'd end up like Dustin Hoffman when he was preparing for his role in Tootsie. All right, now make me beautiful.
This is when they were sitting on the couch in his apartment and they were talking. No, this is when they were back at their place, the new apartment, and they were talking about his sister coming to visit.
No, I think it was still part of this.
No,
there was some dense conversations.
They were on a couch discussing his sister coming to hang out with them.
Because the blanket was right behind his shoulder there.
Okay, so it was while they were still there.
Yeah.
And he says that she will come. They'll just need to serve espresso martinis because that is her favorite drink.
That tells me everything I need to know about you as a person, too. Yep. But go ahead, continue.
And then he talks about how cool she is, and he gets very nervous. Like, he makes himself uncomfortable.
He says,
complimenting her
he
so much.
says at one point, she's really fun to hang around, to be around. That's why I've wanted to find someone like her to like be with, basically. And he realizes what he said, and his eyes kind of dart around the room.
And then he swallows like a deep gulp.
It's nice to brag about your family. And Lauren didn't clock that at all. She's like, yeah, that is good. That's nice. Is Lauren an only child? Does she not know?
I don't remember.
Does she not know that it's not normal to take baths with your siblings in your 30s?
I think that she's unaware of a lot that's going on.
That's the sad part, is it because I keep seeing it on her face. She looks so sad. She looks like she's been crying constantly.
He is an emotional vampire, and he has already sucked like half the life out of her.
She is getting worn down.
Paler, drawn, tired.
The puffy around the eyes, because you can tell she has been crying today, recently, probably within the last few hours, and she's still trying to go on. So the light in her eyes, it's all just, she's diminishing more and more as the episodes wane on.
They do keep pretending that they're trying to make this work, though. And so Dave goes to a cycling class with Lauren to see something that she does, because I think she's also like a spin instructor.
Yeah, and one of her friends, because she's introducing Dave to a couple of her friends, and they're in the class, or they also teach. I think the one friend was instructing this class that they were doing.
I just couldn't stop watching Dave struggle.
Yeah, that was nice.
So this is the second time she has emasculated him, because she is getting through this class no problem, and Dave is on the verge of a heart attack.
And Dave hangs his hat on his physical prowess more than anything. His looks, his conditioning.
Afterwards, when he was like, my legs really hurt, I thought he was trying to fake rhabdo so that he could go to the hospital to get away from her. My kidneys are shutting down, so I'm going to have to halt production.
It's common. It's a very common thing.
Her friends, though, I don't think they were impressed.
No, they just saw Dave huffing and puffing in this entire class. They're not impressed with this guy.
Well, and they bring up what's been going on with the mysterious hookup guy. What's his name?
I don't know.
We don't know, because she hasn't said it, because I think she forgot his name. She doesn't fucking care.
She doesn't know this guy.
She's moved on with her life.
Friends with benefits at best. And even that is pushing it. Nobody spent the night at anybody's house. It was just, I don't know where these hookups were happening even. Most of the time. They're just meeting up.
The Wawa parking lot, as Kale Lowry would say.
It must have been. But you have more people who are confirming Lauren's side of the story here. But that's counter to what Dave is hearing from all of his douchebag friends. So he doesn't know what to do with this information.
It would appear that what would help here is for Lauren to come face to face with the friends who claim to know what's been going on in her bedroom. And it seems like we're about to do that.
And then Dave go ahead and cancels friend night. He was going to have his friends come over. I think he knows some of the heinous shit that his friends would be saying to Lauren. And there's no coming back from that. And if you do it that way, if your friends go dumping on Lauren before you officially break up because the reasons of her being not pure, her being tainted, spoiled goods, because you have women that you fuck and you have women that you marry and never the two shall mix.
That's the vibe I'm getting.
That's the mentality that he has.
And he cannot get past it. His friends have probably heard things about what has gone on between her and the guy that she's been hooking up with. And he cannot fathom marrying someone who has been within that inner circle.
How could I ever respect you as a woman, as my wife, when you're a woman with sexual needs? That's a lot.
Dave has a lot that he needs to go to therapy for.
You know, he did those couple days in the pods, and I think he's pretty much learned everything that he's capable of learning.
He did have some moments where it seemed like there was a glimmer of hope for him. But like you said, once he got his phone back, that was the end of it. He reverted right back to being who he always was. Even before that, it was like the moment of the reveal.
It just flipped a switch for him. He was back at it.
I don't believe that he was actually ready to get married. There's a lot of internalized misogyny or something going on here with him where it seems like there's a battle going on inside him over, one, how does he get rid of her because he just doesn't want to do this anymore? And then he's also got the issue with the fact that she is hooked up with someone that he knows through the grapevine of his friends.
I get the feeling that his dating reputation in Minneapolis, since everybody keeps talking about how it's a small town, everybody knows everybody, and there's a lot of crossover between these friend groups and dating groups. I get the feeling that Dave's reputation was so bad that he needed to come on Love is Blind for a redemption arc in real life to show that he's made all this growth, these leaps and bounds, the way that he sees women and interacts with women now, so that he can revitalize his dating pool.
Well, isn't that extra confusing? Because we know that that's what Minneapolis is like. That's what everyone is saying about this show and this season is everyone kind of knows each other if you're in a certain age group and you hang out pretty much all the same places downtown. Why would it weird you out that someone that you're with now has a connection to someone that you know? That would be something that would be commonplace where they're from.
Yeah, not out of the ordinary at all. And especially when Lauren is telling you there was not a serious relationship, because he keeps taking it back to that too. Oh, I can't believe you'd be dating somebody the week before going into the pods. They weren't dating. Did she see him? Sure, maybe.
He needs to admit that he has an issue with the casual hooking up, that it's okay for him to do that with someone.
When he chooses.
But for a woman to have casual hookups with someone, that's disgusting.
To him.
Yeah, that's what's under the surface of all of this. And he cannot verbalize it on camera because, like you said, that's not going to help him. He's here for the same reason as Ben. I also believe in my heart that that is why Ben came on this show. And it is enraging me that he is getting an edit that I think may help him with someone who is not paying attention to all the side stuff that's going on TikTok.
You kind of learn everything that you need to learn about how this relationship is going, where it's headed. When Lauren is telling David, I would prefer if we didn't go our separate ways tonight then, so that we can continue talking about this or try to attempt to build something else here and move forward. And Dave goes, I think I'm going to hang out with my friends. Yeah, I think you've made that abundantly clear. So to say that you're still thinking through this, trying to process through this, I'm still trying to figure it out. No, you're believing your friends instead of believing me when I'm telling you what the situation was going into it, but you're choosing to believe their version of what's happening instead, and you're completely shutting me out.
Lauren needs to be the one to make the decision here.
Well, that's the problem, yeah, is that Dave is setting it up so that she has to be, but then she still isn't.
Which is fine. Well, maybe it'll happen a little bit further in. We're only, 3 episodes from the end of the season?
It's coming up quick, yeah. And
there's
the preview,
no way they're getting past this.
No. Yeah, as soon as we saw his decision that he was going out there, I mean, I knew from before they even left the pods that this wasn't going to last. But now the way that this is going to, it's not going to last. There's no way. The stuff that we saw in the preview for them, guarantee you David's going to fuck Molly.
Oh my God, yeah.
Promise you that.
Molly showed up in like a bra.
Nips hanging out.
Pierce nips hanging out. No, we will have to see how that all plays out. She ain't getting a prize if she ends up with Dave at the end of all this.
Old Davy boy.
Well, let us know what your predictions for the couples are because we are approaching wedding season.
Just a couple episodes to go. Getting down to the wire here. And if you like wedding content, boy, do we have a show for you. Our other podcast, Surviving Sister Wives. You can check us out over there. We got tons of episodes.
The tale of a man and his 4 wives.
Eventually. And then it kind of taper off. It's kind of the numbers go up and then they go down.
And we also release bonus content over on our Patreon, patreon.com/survivingpod. We are going to be recapping an episode of Married at First Sight, the recent season where there seems to be a scandal.
I know absolutely nothing of what's going on with that season, so I will be going in completely blind. But I'm sure I'll be just as opinionated as I have been for the cast of Love is Blind, because I came into this pretty blind too, and got to read on these people pretty quick.
Thanks for listening. See you next time.